Today I'm going to show you guys how to use your Unraid server as a capture device using OBS and a plugin called NDI. This will enable you to capture anything from your gaming PC, Mac, or whatever it may be over your home network without the need of a capture device. Now, in order to get the maximum performance and the maximum stability from this, you will of course need to make sure that both your server and your gaming PC or Mac are plugged directly into a switch or router. So that way you minimize all potential issues if you're trying to use like Wi-Fi, for instance, with intermittent connectivity or even things disrupting the frequency or waves of your Wi-Fi device. One other problem area that I've found in the past that people seem to have a problem with is a mismatch in version numbers between OBS and NDI on both their client as well as their server. So it's very important that you use the same OBS software on both ends as well as the same NDI version numbers on both ends like I am in this video. We'll kick things off by starting with Unraid, and the first thing you want to do is click on the Apps tab. If you don't have the Apps tab, it's because you don't have the Community Apps plugin installed. There are tons of guides and content out there that already exist to show you how to do that, so we're not going to cover that for this video. Using the search function, we're going to type in NVIDIA so we can get my graphics card drivers installed and identified. I've already installed the GPU for this, so there's really nothing I need to do except install these drivers. So right now, this could take some time. Please don't close this window while the downloads are happening. Okay, so it tells us the NVIDIA driver installation was successful, so we're just gonna click on done. The next thing we're gonna wanna do is go back to main and stop our array and reboot the server. I like to do this. It may be an unnecessary step, but we're gonna do it anyway, just to make sure everything's installed appropriately and to minimize any potential issues we could run into. All right, we'll wait for the server to reboot and we will be back with the next part of this video. Your server's finally booted back up after what felt like an eternity. So we're just gonna double check to make sure that the drivers actually recognized or the plugin actually recognized our graphics card. And then once we do that, we'll be pretty much ready to go on to the next part. Of course, starting the array also seems to take a long time as well, but once we get through it, we can move on. There we go. Right, so we're gonna go to plugins, the plugins tab. We're gonna select the NVIDIA driver. And we can see here that it does recognize my Quadro P4000. And here is some of the important things that we'll have to remember. So we'll need to remember this or keep this tab open because we will need this for our container in the future. So from this point forward, I'm just going to open a new tab, leave this open so we can reference it later. And now we're going to want to go to shares and we're going to create a share where we're going to store any videos that we decide to record and also any other configuration files. So I'm going to call the share OBS. You can name it whatever you'd like. I'm actually going to set it to cache. So that way we can, while recording or saving anything, it'll save to cache very, very, very quickly. And then for secondary storage, we're going to say array. So that way, when we're done for the day or the next time that the mover action runs, it'll save all of our files and videos over onto the array at a later time, which is extremely useful so we don't actually lose anything. So click on add share and we are pretty much done with this portion. You can see I only have 200 gigabytes of space. It's not very much. You could export this if you wanted to, so you could have easier access from your server or wherever to these video files. But that's totally up to you how you decide to run your equipment. All right, so hit done there. Now we're going to click on the apps tab and we are going to search for OBS NDI. Now you may get a couple of results for this, but my recommendation is to install the OBS NDI container by Aspirin. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. It's either Aspirin or Aspirin, your choice. And there's lots of useful information in here about how to actually pass through the NVIDIA drivers and such that we'll kind of need to remember, but I'll also show you how to do that. And it also tells us the password for VNC, which is headless. We'll need to know that. Let's go ahead and install this for right now. We're going to go ahead and change it from basic to advanced using this toggle icon here. We'll scroll down. Now I'm going to change this to custom BR0 and give my container a custom IP address, something that I could easily remember, something like 69 or 42, whatever. All that's important is it's on the same subnet and it has a memorable address. So I'll just say 72, don't know why, but that seems very memorable to me. And the next thing we want to do is insert some extra parameters. So if we go here, we're going to do -- runtime equals NVIDIA. We'll scroll down and we're going to add another port or path port or whatever. And we're going to add a variable. And this variable, you can call it whatever you'd like. I'm just going to call it NVIDIA GPU device. So that way, when I see this, I'll go ahead and immediately recognize this as the device ID. And then for key, this needs to be NVIDIA visible devices. All caps is fine. And then we need the value. So where do we get that value? Remember that tab we had before? Well, I'm going to copy this value here and we are going to paste it here. So now that's in our value. And then we can just leave the rest of this blank and just click on add. Now we're going to want to do this one more time for the NVIDIA driver capabilities. We're going to say variable. We're going to say NVIDIA driver capabilities. I think I spelled that right. Again, you can call it whatever you'd like. I just like keeping everything as easy as possible. Next, we're going to do NVIDIA, you guessed it, driver underscore capabilities. And then for the value, we're going to say all. So now all capabilities will pass through into this container. Now we could also change the password here if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it as headless, but that's on you. The next thing we want to do is actually select that OBS path that we created earlier. So this is the path for storing configuration data. So, I created a new share. So if I just click on this, we can actually see OBS right here and it autofills the path for us. And we are pretty much done. That was very simple, I think. So let's just go ahead and make sure we didn't miss anything. Also add runtime. Yep, that looks like everything. So we'll hit apply. And now the container will download and install. All right, allegedly this finished successfully. So we can click on done now. We will close out of this and we will go to the Docker tab. And we should see now that the OBS NDI container is already up to date. It's already running and everything should be good to go. We can go to Web UI from here. We're going to click on No VNC Full Client. Click on Connect and enter the password, which was headless by default. And check that out. We now have access to the container itself. From here, we just want to make sure OBS can see our NVIDIA graphics card. So we're just going to go down to multimedia, select OBS. So this is the first time we're launching OBS. So just to quickly kind of get through this, we're going to just click cancel out of here. So that way we can go directly to settings and then go to output. And then the drop down menu, we should see the hardware NVENC already in here. So that's good. That means that it pretty much already worked. And from here, you can kind of adjust the settings however you see fit, or you can just, go back to tools, auto configuration wizard, and then configure it or optimize it for whichever way that you like to stream to Twitch or YouTube or whatever, or record to your local device. Now I always use 1920 by 1080 because that's just easiest on everything. And you can actually see it's already kind of detected our NVIDIA GPU. Can't even speak. And it's already kind of got some settings here. So I'm just going to hit apply and, it does its thing, right? So from here, I think we're pretty much good to go. The next thing we need to do is switch over to our gaming PC and then get the two connected. Before we run off, if you guys plan to do any recording, one thing I wanted to show you first was if you go into settings and then go to output, you see this recording path here. Now this is fine to do, but it may take some extra steps to get your recordings out of your container. So what we're going to do is if we go back to our Docker container here and then go to edit. If you remember earlier, I told you to add that path for the OBS share so that way you could save your videos to it. What we're going to do now is just, I'm going to highlight this path here. This is where we actually want to save our videos. So that way we can save them off to our file share within the container. So we go to our container, and the path was /headless.config /OBS Studio, and we can actually browse into that. So this is everything that's going to get dumped out there. And if you really want to, we could create a new folder in here and call it, videos or recordings, and that'll actually get created inside of our container as well. So we can hit open there, and you can see the full path. So hit apply, okay. And now if we were to go to our shares and go down to OBS, we can actually browse for what's inside, and we can see that we created a videos folder. So in here is where all the videos and recordings will get saved, and we can take a look at that in the future. So if you're wondering why you don't have the config file in your /headless, so home/headless directory, it's because it's actually a hidden directory. So if you go to view here, you can actually say show hidden files, and if you scroll around, you will see config. So it's like .config, OBS Studio, and then videos. So that's where those live. I already have some recordings in here from earlier, and that's how you find it. Now you can also do the same thing with settings in OBS. So if we go to output, browse, and let's say you start off here, you can actually check mark this box here. So by default, this is what you would see if you try to run in there, or you could do show hidden files, then go to config, then go to OBS, and then to the videos, or create your videos, whatever you wanted to do. So there's a little troubleshooting step there for you. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and download the NDI plugin. So we're just going to do a quick Google search for NDI plugin, and we'll click on the first link here. We'll go to download, and it's very important that you do two things. One, you download the NDI runtime. If you don't do this, you'll have a bad time. And the next thing you want to do is scroll all the way down and look for the installer. So go ahead and download that. And those are the two things that you need to download. So let's go ahead and get that installed. Bring up File Explorer here, go to downloads. And I don't think it matters which order you install this, but I'm going to start with the NDI runtime loader first because that was first on the list. So my screen went black there. I just had to hit yes to accept the the UAC. We're going to hit next. We're going to install the plugin. We're just going to use all the default settings because, well, I have installed everything in the default locations. Now, I'm going to accept the UAC again. My screen went black. I can't record that. Hit next. OBS is installed in this file directory, so not much that needs to be done here. We're going to hit next again. We're going to finish. Now we have successfully installed the OBS NDI plugin and runtime loader. Okay, so I've launched OBS again for the first time, and if this message pops up from the Windows Defender firewall, we're just going to say allow access. This is so NDI has access to the network. And what we can do from here is now go to Tools, NDI Output Settings, and this will open up a window that looks like this. And we're going to say main output is OBS, and we can also preview the output if we wanted, but we need to make sure that this is enabled. Now we can name it whatever we want. I'm going to name it OBS PC Gaming. It doesn't actually matter. Hit OK. Now if we go back to our Unraid server, we should be able to click on Add NDI Source. Click OK. And the source name should pop up right here. So OBS PC Gaming, and that's the host name of my computer. You can see here. We're going to set the bandwidth to highest. Click OK. And now we've got this like infinite screen of things going on here. And let's see here. So we can move this in the way. OBS is working, it looks like, across the thing. And then of course we could start recording or streaming. Now I will say that if you do have some issues with your stream keys, you will have to manually put in your stream keys. It may not always work with Twitch and especially YouTube. That's okay. So I went ahead and added my camera to this stream here. So you can see that there is no actual camera or anything going on here. There's just the NDI source. That's all we've added to this. And of course it's a 1920 by 1080. what we could also do is if we go ahead and hit start recording. So now this is recording on our container. We'll go back to our Unraid server. We'll click on dashboard, and we can see that the server is in fact doing a lot of work here. So that's good. And another cool thing that we can do while we're here is we can open up a web terminal and we could type in watch NVIDIA SMI. So this will constantly update on its own and tell us what NVIDIA is actually doing and processing. And as you can see here, you see the process name of OBS. So we can see that in fact, our Quadro P2000 is doing some kind of process load or work with OBS. And we can even see some metrics here about how much RAM it's using and its overall utilization, which is pretty low. That's how efficient these encoders are on the NVIDIA Quadro cards. And so let's just go back to the screen here. Yep, everything appears to be working. I'm gonna hit stop recording and we can take a look at this and see how the quality turned out. Oh God, I suck. All right, there we go. We got somebody. Man, that took forever. I got so into it, I forgot I was actually streaming for a second. Or recording, actually. I'm not streaming, I'm recording, but this should work the same way. Wow, that guy ate that first bullet. Hooray! Got shot in the arm again. Come on. I see you hiding. Oh God, he can see me really well. I can't see him. I see a light. There we go. Oh, I didn't get him. Oh yeah, here we go, baby. Got him. For anyone that was wondering about macOS and why it wasn't shown, the process is pretty much identical to Windows. You have to install the runtime loader first, and then you install the NDI plugin package afterwards. Everything should work as long as your NDI plugins on both sides are matching, and you don't have to really worry about it. There's also an older video that you can check out that I made that covers it. It is older, but the process and the steps really haven't changed. And so if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. But just know that I kind of only really know how to do this from like a high level. It's not like I know every little nook and cranny in detail, but nonetheless, you can ask and we can try and figure it out, hopefully. With that all being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, and I will see you all next time.